So for my general purpose houseplant potting mix, I use roughly equal parts coco coir, orchid bark and perlite. I don't measure these exactly, but this is roughly what I aim for. And when I've put all of it into my storage box here, I just mix it all up so that it's well mixed, and this creates a really chunky, well draining mix that's suitable for most houseplants. I do amend it for different ones, but generally this is a pretty good all-purpose houseplant mix, and if you make it yourself it is much cheaper.
Today I'm going to be repotting 3 new plants, and these are plants that I've only just got, and I'm repotting them because the soil that they're in looks quite dense and I'm going to replace it with my chunky mix. These are the plants that I'm going to be repotting. We have the Syngonium Tricolour, and then we have this Philodendron Pink Princess, and finally this Croton Petra. I'm going to start with the Pink Princess, and so we're going to start by taking it out of the pot and seeing what's going on. I'm not sure if I will need to give this a bigger pot yet. We'll see what we're working with when we take it out of the pot. Okay, let's see what we're working with here. Just give it a gentle squeeze, and that will help the plant to come out of the pot. Looks like this one's just been watered, so it's quite moist at the moment. And then just gently lean the pot to one side like this and gently squeeze it out. Just holding the plant as you squeeze it out gently. And it depends really how root bound a plant is as to how easy it will be to get out of the pot. But I'm not forcing it, I'm just being as gentle as I can because I don't want to damage these roots. I want to minimize the amount of stress that this plant gets from this repot. Okay, there we go. So this plant is definitely not root bound. However, this soil that it's in is very dense, and philodendrons really do like a chunky soil, so I'm just going to gently remove as much of this soil as I can. Don't worry if you do end up damaging the roots a little bit. Sometimes it's just hard to avoid, especially if the roots are quite fine. But just do your best. This one definitely won't be having a bigger pot because it's not root bound. In fact, its roots are not hugely well established. This is clearly quite a fairly new cutting, but it does, as you can see, it does have roots, and I think it will be much happier though in my chunky mix. And the other thing I'm doing when I repot a new plant is checking for the netting that you often find around these plants, because they've got a netting around them from where they were plugs, and it doesn't happen with all plants, but it does tend to happen quite a bit, so I do check for that as well. So if I do find netting around the plant, then I want it to be removed because I don't want the plant to be restricted in any way. I'm not actually seeing anything yet with this one, but we'll see. I'm not quite there yet. Just very gently teasing this soil. I'm just going to very gently use my small trowel here to kind of pick at the soil there. I don't want to put this in a new pot until I've checked if it has that netting around it. I can't actually see any netting on this one. It doesn't appear to have any, so that's good. I am going to leave it there though. I'm not going to go too, as I say, I'm trying really hard not to damage these roots. But that's what I have so far, and I think I'm happy with that. And I'm going to pop this into a pot that's smaller than this one that it was in, because this one is, I think, a little too big for this plant. Just looking for an appropriate pot size here. And the pot you choose, it should be appropriate to the size of the root ball, not the plant. So it's the root size that defines what size pot you will need to use. So you want to have a little bit of space for the roots to grow in that pot, but you don't want too much space, because too much space means that there will be a lot of soil around the roots and the plant will hold too much water, and that could cause the roots to rot. So in this case I'm going to be downsizing slightly because of the size of the roots. However, if you were to find that your plant was root bound and the roots were filling the soil, you would probably want to go up a size. And if you do find that you need to upsize, always upsize 1 to 2 inches bigger than the current pot. No bigger than that though. And then you should be fine. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put about 1 inch of soil. And this is just the chunky mix that I made earlier. I'm going to put about 1 inch of that in there, just in the bottom. And then I'm going to place the plant inside, make sure all the roots are in there. And you want the top of the plant to be kind of level with the top of the pot. And then all I'm going to do is just fill in around the edges. I'm using my small trowel for this one because it's a small pot. And you just want to work gradually around. Filling in those gaps and adjusting the plant so that it sits at the right level as well. Just filling it in and patting it down slightly and adjusting the plant as I go, as I say, to make sure the plant is in the right place. You want to make sure that all of the roots are buried in the soil. You don't want any of them coming to the surface. Make sure you don't cover the crown of the plant either, the top bit here. We want that free to be able to grow. Just very gently filling it in there. And I'm just going to use my fingers to gently firm that soil down. And in this case I'm not actually going to water the plant, and that's because it was well watered beforehand, and also this soil is slightly moist as well, so I don't really want to water it again because I could risk the roots rotting if I do that. Generally my rule tends to be if it needed watering before the repot, then I will water it after repotting. If it didn't, then I won't water it. because this is fresh from the garden centre, and this one clearly been watered, only just watered. So the last thing I want to do is water it again now, because as I say, that could cause the roots to rot. But I'm really happy that it's now in this new chunky soil mix. It will be a lot happier in there. So I'm just patting it down, and there you have your newly repotted plant. And this pot also has drainage holes. That's very important, so when you do water, any excess water can come out of the drainage holes. So that's the Philodendron Pink Princess repotted. Happy to have got that done. It always feels good to repot a plant and see it in some new healthy substrate. Okay, next we're going to be doing this Syngonium, and again this one has clearly been watered not long before I bought it, and so I probably shan't water this one either. But let's have a look what's going on with this one inside there. And again, I'm just going to gently squeeze the sides of the pot and just bring it out of there. And wow, we have some huge roots in here. Just take some of this soil off. Again, this soil is fairly dense, but not quite as bad as the last one, but I'm still going to remove it. And you can see this one is a little bit more well rooted, so I may well upsize the pot slightly because it is starting to circle the pot there. So it is, yeah, the roots are making their way to the surface as well here. So in this instance, we are going to repot in a slightly bigger pot. You can see these roots are, not only are they climbing around the bottom, they're also climbing up. So that's a good sign that it's outgrown its pot. Some nice thick roots. I'm always curious about the different types of roots that plants have, because different types of plants have different types of roots. They can differ in their thickness, their size, their colour, all sorts of things really. And it's always really interesting to see the different types of roots. Unfortunately, it would seem that some of them have rotted slightly. Maybe that's why this plant was in the sale section. So I'll just remove those parts and hopefully we can save this plant. It's always the risk you take when you buy something in the sale section. You never know what's going on in the roots until you get down there. But it does appear to also have some good roots in there, so I think there's hope for this plant. You see these ones are good and healthy, so I'll just trim off any that I think are brown. It doesn't seem to have set into the stem, and it's just some of the lower roots, so I think we're going to be okay. I think maybe this had just been overwatered a little bit. Maybe the people at the garden centre didn't give it the correct watering routine. But most of those brown ones that were there, they just kind of fell off, and the rest of them look pretty healthy. So yeah, I'm really happy with that. I'm going to put that in a new pot now. And you can see that's got some decent roots in it. Let's see how it compares to its current pot. Yeah, I think it does need the next size up, to be honest. so that would be the appropriate upsize. But yeah, that just gives the plant a little bit of room, not too much, but enough to grow. And apologies if you can hear the construction work that's going on outside. I'm afraid there's nothing I can do about that. I'm just going to continue anyway. So let's just remove that out of the way. Again, I'm just going to put in about 1 inch of soil there into the pot. Bottom there. And then I'm going to place the plant in and again just fill in around the sides again. Now this plant now has a little bit of room to grow. Actually it's a little bit too high up there, I need to put it down a little further. So I'm just going to take that out actually and redo that. A little bit less soil at the bottom there. And yeah, I think that's better. It's important to make sure that the plant is well positioned in the pot. You don't want the roots coming out of the top. You want a little bit of space for it to grow if you're upsizing. I'm actually quite surprised at how many roots this Syngonium has. It's got just a little cutting there which is coming away from the bigger one. I'm just going to continue to fill in those gaps around the plant. Just going to pat it down a little as well. Put a little more in the top where I've patted it down there. Yeah, it's just as simple as that. Just keep filling until the pot is full. I usually leave a little bit of space at the top. I don't fill it right to the brim because that way when you water, the water won't go all over the top of the pot. Although I do tend to bottom water most of the time, I do also top water from time to time in order to flush the soil out. So it doesn't become compacted, and also to flush out any excess minerals and things in there. Now I'm really hoping that this Syngonium will thrive with the right care. And there we go. We've got a lovely fresh pot for that one, and it's looking very happy in there. And as I say, I'm not going to water it on this occasion because it was already quite moist before I potted it, so it wouldn't really be appropriate for me to water it in case that caused overwatering, especially since it had a few brown roots there. Okay, next we're going to see what's going on with this Croton. So again, I'm just going to squeeze it gently out of the pot. It's try and catch this soil as it comes out. Oh. Yep, that soil is very, very dense in there. Just going to take as much of that soil off as I can. Looks like the roots are healthy. The root ball is quite small, I'd say, considering how much soil is around it. And I think this one's going to need a smaller pot again because, yeah, that was just wheat. Well, actually, I think the pot size is probably okay because it does need a little bit of room to grow. However, I do want to change the soil, so I think that one will probably do. Yeah, that one will do. I'm just going to pop some soil in there and then pop it in and fill it in. Pat that down. And there we have the Croton repotted. Okay, I'm really glad to have repotted those plants, so that's some chores off the list, and hopefully these plants will thrive. And here they are. I've also given the leaves a nice clean as well. This is the Syngonium Tricolour, and over here is the Croton Petra. And then finally we have the Philodendron Pink Princess. So they are all repotted and ready for spring. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I really hope you enjoyed that, and I will see you in the next video.